The giant room was quiet. Too quiet. Captain Jake Morrison stood behind the metal rail, his hands gripping the cold surface. His blue uniform felt tight around his shoulders. Sweat ran down his back, even though the air was cool. 347 alien species had voted. The numbers glowed on the huge screen above them. Each vote decided humanity's fate. Jake watched the final count appear. His heart sank. Ambassador Zethkar stepped forward. The tall alien skin was purple and smooth like plastic. His 4 eyes blinked one by one as he spoke. The machine translated his words into English. "The human species is guilty," Zethkar said. His voice echoed in the massive chamber. "You are too violent. You expand too fast. You break our peace rules. The Council has decided Earth and all human colonies will be cut off from the galaxy." Admiral Kate Hughes sat in the front row. Her gray hair was pulled back tight. She had fought in 3 wars to protect Earth. Now she felt older than her 60 years. She stood slowly and walked to the speaking platform. "Honored council members," Kate said, her voice strong and clear. "Humans have always wanted peace. We shared our medicine with sick aliens. We gave food to hungry worlds. Okay? We only expanded because we needed room for our growing population." Creature made of floating gas interrupted her. It had no real body, just a purple mist held together by energy fields. "Glies," it hissed. "Your people killed thousands at Kepler Station. Few destroyed our trade ships. You refused to follow galaxy law." Dr. Alex Carter sat behind Admiral Hughes, studied alien life forms, and had worked with many species. He leaned forward and whispered, "They won't listen. They made up their minds before we got here." The vote began. One by one, alien races chose humanity's punishment. The Zephyrians voted for Exile. These bird-like creatures had traded with humans for years. The aquatic people voted against humans too. Earth had saved them from a deadly disease just 2 years ago. Even the crystal beings voted for Exile. Their entire communication system used human technology, but fear was stronger than gratitude. Jake watched the numbers climb. Against Exile, 12 votes. For Exile, 335 votes. His hands shook with anger. Commander Lisa Brooks stood up. She was thin and pale from years of working in underground intelligence centers. Her job was knowing alien secrets. She knew things that would shock the Council. "You're making a big mistake," Lisa said quietly, but her voice carried in the silent room. "You have no idea what you're doing to yourselves." Zethkar waved one of his 4 arms. "Humans have 7 galactic months to stop all expansion. Return to your assigned planets. Any human ship found outside your borders will be destroyed." The alien guards moved toward the human group. They wore armor that shimmered with energy shields. Their weapons hummed with power. The message was clear. "Leave now." Admiral Hughes gathered her papers slowly. She looked at each council member. Many couldn't meet her eyes. Some looked ashamed. Others seemed relieved. A few appeared worried about what they had just done. "Ma'am," Jake whispered as they walked toward the exit. "What do we do now?" Kate Hughes had been a soldier for 40 years. She had seen Earth grow from a single world to a small empire of colonies. She had watched humans make friends across the galaxy. Now those friends had turned their backs. "We go home, Jake," she said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were hard as steel. "And we show them what happens when you corner a human." The walk to their ship felt endless. Alien reporters shouted questions in dozens of languages. Security forces kept the crowds back. Some aliens looked happy. Others seemed scared. Few looked sorry. Dr. Carter walked beside Admiral Hughes. "Kate, they're afraid of us. They don't understand what they should really fear." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. They think we're dangerous because we fight when attacked, Alex explained. But humans are most dangerous when we have time to think, when we plan, when we prepare. Their ship was small compared to the massive alien vessels around it, but it was fast and well armed. As they lifted off from the council station, Jake looked back at the huge structure. It looked like a metal flower floating in space. 7 months, he said. They're giving us 7 months to withdraw. Admiral Hughes sat in the captain's chair. She was already thinking ahead. Her mind worked through possibilities and plans. That's more time than they realize, ma'am, Lisa asked. They think 7 months is barely enough time to pack up and leave, Kate explained. They don't know humans very well. 7 months is enough time to change everything. The ship jumped into faster-than-light travel. Stars stretched into lines of light around them. They were heading home to Earth, but Jake could see that Admiral Hughes was already somewhere else in her mind. She was planning something big. What's our first move? Dr. Carter asked. Kate smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator that had just been challenged. First, we make them think they won. We act scared, withdraw quickly and quietly. We make them feel safe. And then, Jack asked, then we remind the galaxy why humans survived the Ice Age, the Plague Wars, and the nuclear crisis. We show them what evolution really means. Kate looked out at the stars rushing past. Okay, they wanted us gone because we adapt too fast. Okay, we learn too quickly because we turn every challenge into an opportunity. The ship flew through space toward Earth. Behind them, the council celebrated their victory. They had contained the human threat. They had restored peace to the galaxy. They could return to their safe, predictable lives. They had no idea what was coming. 6 months had passed since the Exile order. The galaxy watched in surprise as humans did exactly what they were told. Every human colony began packing up. Every trade ship returned to Earth space. Every diplomatic office closed its doors. General Sam Rodriguez stood on the platform overlooking the Tau Ceti mining complex. The massive operation had fed raw materials to half the galaxy for 10 years. Now, huge transport ships waited to carry everything away. Pack it all, Sam told his logistics officer, Lieutenant Amy Foster. Every drill, every computer, every piece of metal, even the air recyclers. Amy looked at her datapad. The hegemony commander is demanding we leave the main equipment. Key says it's payment for our crimes against galaxy peace. Sam laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Tell him he can have whatever's left when we're done. He pointed to the empty holes where the mining equipment used to be, which won't be much. The aliens didn't understand what humans were really doing. Thought the withdrawal was surrender. They celebrated as human ships left the system after system trade routes reopened. Planets that had been contested were now available for claiming, but humans weren't just leaving. They were learning. Dr. Elena Vasquez worked in her new laboratory deep under the desert on Earth. The room was filled with alien technology that had been quietly collected over the years. Every trade deal, every diplomatic meeting, every shared project had taught humans something new. Look at this, Elena said to her assistant, Dr. Mike Chen. She pointed to a Zephyrian energy shield generator. Their shields rotate frequencies every few seconds. Very smart. But there's a tiny gap between rotations, 0.3 seconds where the shield is completely down. Mike studied the readings. Their own engineers don't know about this. They'd never looked for it. No one has ever tried to break their shields before. They assumed they were perfect. Elena made notes on her computer. Humans always assume someone will try to break our stuff. We build things differently. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Human scientists studied every piece of alien technology they could find. Human soldiers analyzed every alien military formation they had ever seen. Human engineers memorized every weakness in alien construction. Colonel Ben Murphy trained new soldiers in the Australian outback. These weren't regular troops. They were volunteers from every human colony. Miners who had lost their jobs. Traders who had been banned from alien ports. Farmers whose worlds had been taken away. The galaxy thinks we're too violent, Ben told his recruits. They say we're too aggressive. Well, they haven't seen anything yet. The training was unlike anything humans had done before. It combined lessons learned from fighting alongside aliens with new tactics designed specifically for fighting against them. Every alien weakness was turned into a human advantage. Meanwhile, the aliens celebrated their victory. The Vortanian Empire claimed 3 former human colonies. The Ethereal Collective took over human research stations. The Aquatic Dominion expanded into human trade routes. News reports across the galaxy praised the Exile decision. Peace has returned to civilized space, announced one Zephyrian broadcaster. The human threat has been contained, but Commander Yathara of the Crystalline Syndicate wasn't celebrating. She had fought beside humans during the Nebula Wars 5 years ago. She knew what they were capable of when pushed into a corner. This silence worries me, she told her aide in her crystal ship. Humans don't give up. They adapt. They learn. They come back stronger. Her aide, a young crystal being named Veltar, didn't understand, but they're following the Exile order. Dave, withdrawn from all contested territories. That's what scares me, Yathara said. When humans retreat, it usually means they're planning something big. On Earth, Admiral Hughes met with their senior staff in the underground command center. The room was filled with holographic displays, showing human positions across the galaxy. Red dots marked abandoned colonies. Blue dots showed current human territory. Green dots marked something else entirely. Status report. Kate said. Captain Morrison stepped forward. All colonies have completed withdrawal. We're officially contained to the designated sectors. No human presence outside the allowed zones and our special projects. Jake smiled. Ahead of schedule. Dr. Vasquez says we'll be ready in 18 months instead of 2 years. Kate nodded and looked at Commander Brooks. Lisa, what are the aliens doing? Exactly what we expected. They're moving into our old territories. The hegemony has already started mining operations on 3 of our former worlds. The Vortanians are building new trade stations along routes we use to control any suspicion about our real activities. None. They think we're beaten, broken. Some of their media is already calling it the end of the human expansion era. Dr. Carter entered the room carrying a thick folder. Kate, you need to see this. Our intelligence network has found something interesting. He activated a holographic display. It showed a map of the galaxy with various species marked in different colors. Some colors were fading. What am I looking at? Kate asked. Other exiled species. The galaxy has been doing this for centuries. Any race that doesn't fit their idea of civilization gets pushed to the outer rim or banned entirely. The display showed dozens of species. Crothry, exiled for being too warlike. The Nexus Collective, banned for using cybernetic enhancements. The Void Touched, feared for their mastery of dark energy. How many? Kate asked. 47 species in total. Some have been exiled for over 1,000 years, but they're all still out there, surviving in the dark spaces between stars. Lisa leaned forward. What are you thinking, Admiral? Kate studied the display for a long moment. An idea was forming in her mind. A plan that would change everything. I'm thinking the galaxy just gave us the galaxy's greatest gift, she said, slowly. They didn't just exile us. They showed us where to find everyone else they've rejected. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humans weren't the only ones who had been cast out. They weren't the only ones with a grudge against a so-called civilized galaxy. "Jake," Kate said, "I want you to prepare a very special mission. We're going to make some new friends." Outside, the sun was setting over Earth. In a few hours, human ships would begin launching on secret missions to the dark edges of the galaxy. They would carry a simple message to species that had been forgotten and abandoned. The message was this: you are not alone anymore. The galaxy thought they had solved the human problem. Instead, they had created something much bigger, something that would change the balance of power forever. The withdrawal phase was almost complete. Soon, the real work would begin. 2 years had passed since humanity went silent. The galaxy had moved on. Trade ships flew along routes that humans once used. Alien colonies spread across worlds that humans had abandoned. Everything seemed peaceful and normal, but strange things were happening at the edge of civilized space. Agent Ryan Clark sat in his hidden base on the dark side of Earth's moon. His job was watching and listening to alien communications. The reports coming in made no sense. Director Santos, Ryan called to his boss through the communication system. The hegemony lost another patrol ship near the Horsehead Nebula. It makes 3 this month. Maria Santos appeared on his screen. She had gray hair and tired eyes from years of intelligence work. Any survivors? None. They found the ship floating empty. All the good technology was gone. The crew had vanished. Life support still worked, but no one was aboard. Maria frowned. Same pattern as the others. Exactly the same. Ship found intact, but stripped of anything useful. No signs of fighting. No distress signals. The crew just disappeared. Far out in the dark space, beyond the galaxy's edge, massive construction platforms worked day and night. These weren't built near any star system. They floated in the empty void where no alien patrol would ever find them. Engineer Tom Bradley watched as giant machines assembled the hull of a new warship. The vessel was enormous, stretching nearly 2 kilometers from front to back. Its armor was thicker than anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Admiral Wright," Tom said into his radio, "the Retribution is 60% complete. The armor plating alone weighs more than a whole Vortanian battlecruiser." Fleet Admiral Susan Wright stood on the observation deck of the construction platform. She was a small woman, but her voice commanded respect from everyone who heard it. "What about the weapons?" "Beyond anything the aliens have ever imagined. Each of our battleships can destroy an entire enemy fleet. We learned from every fight, every technology we studied. The aliens taught us how their weapons work. Now, we're going to show them how human weapons work." The construction platforms were hidden in the space between galaxies. Humans had found the perfect hiding spot in the cosmic void. No alien sensors could reach this far. No patrol ships ever came here. It was the perfect place to build a fleet that would shock the galaxy. Dr. Alina Vasquez had been busy too. Human scientists, free from alien rules and treaties, had pushed the limits of physics itself. They created faster-than-light travel that left no trace. Weapons that could crack planets in half. Shields that could block the energy of an entire star. But the most important work was happening in a different area entirely. Captain Morrison stood in the command center of the ship Defiance. Around him, the bridge crew was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Humans worked alongside aliens that the galaxy had forgotten. "Report from the Crathery expedition," said Lieutenant Kelly Barnes. She was young, but had proven herself in the recruitment missions. "War Chief Grondar agrees to join our alliance. His people have been waiting 3 centuries for revenge against the hegemony." Morrison nodded. The Crathery were perfect allies. They had been exiled because they were too warlike for galaxy standards. They knew how to fight, and they hated the same enemies that humans hated. "What about the Nexus Collective?" Morrison asked. Also agreed, Kelly replied. They're bringing their cybernetic technology. Combined with our systems, we'll have computing power that the galaxy can't match. The recruitment program was humanity's greatest success. Every species that had been cast out, every race deemed too dangerous for civilized space, was being offered something the galaxy never gave them: acceptance for who they were. Commander Lisa Brooks had found them all. The void touched who controlled. Dark energy, the savage ones, who were too primitive by alien standards. The hive minds, who scared other species because they shared thoughts. Each exiled species brought something valuable: knowledge, technology, skills, or simple anger at the galaxy that had rejected them. Humanity was building more than a fleet. They were building a coalition of the forgotten and the rejected, on the bridge of the Defiance. Morrison met with Grondar, the Krathri war chief. The alien was 3 meters tall, with thick gray skin and tusks like an ancient earth elephant. His people were born warriors, bred for battle across 1,000 generations. Your people have waited long for revenge, Morrison said. Grondar's eyes glowed red with old anger. 300 years since the hegemony destroyed our home world. 300 years since they called us the savage, to live among civilized beings. And now we have allies who understand war as we do. When do we strike? Morrison looked out at a hidden fleet growing in the darkness. Hundreds of ships, each one carrying the hopes and anger of an exiled species. Soon, my friend. Soon. Back in civilized space, the aliens noticed the missing ships and strange disappearances. But they didn't understand what was happening. Their leaders held meetings and made theories, but none came close to the truth. Commander Yathera of the Crystalline Syndicate had tried to warn them. She knew humans better than most aliens. She had fought beside them and against them. She understood what they were capable of when pushed. The disappearances are not random, she told the Council emergency session. Ships vanish near the outer rim, always in areas where humans once operated. This is not coincidence. The ethereal collective representative dismissed her concerns. The humans are contained. Our sensors show no human activity outside their designated zones. The sensors show what they want you to see, Yathar replied. Humans are the only species that got better at hiding after you found them. But the Council didn't listen. They were too comfortable with their victory, too confident in their technology, too sure that the human threat had been ended. They had no idea that humanity was about to return. Not as the same species that had been exiled, but as something new, something stronger, something that had learned from every mistake and turned every weakness into an advantage. The silence was almost over. Soon, the galaxy would hear from humanity again. And when they did, everything would change forever. The first sign that something had changed came from the Rigel system. The hegemony mining colony there simply vanished overnight, not destroyed, not attacked, just gone. Commander Zek Still of the hegemony patrol fleet received the report while drinking his morning nutrients. What do you mean gone? He asked his communications officer. Sir, the entire mining operation has disappeared. 10,000 workers, all the equipment, the orbital platforms, everything. When our patrol arrived, they found empty planets with no trace of what happened. Still felt cold fear creep up his spine. Any signs of battle? Debris fields? Distress? Signals? Nothing, sir. It's like the whole operation was just picked up and moved somewhere else. 3 days later, the Zephyrian trade station at Wolf 359 went dark. Then the Aquatic Dominion's research facility in the Veil Nebula stopped responding to all calls. Each time, the same impossible pattern. Complete disappearance with no signs of violence. Admiral Hughes stood on the bridge of her command ship, Vengeance, watching reports flood in from across the galaxy. Her hair was now completely white, but her eyes were sharp as ever. Around her, human and alien officers worked together at their stations. Phase 1 is complete, she announced to her fleet commanders on the main screen. They're scared and confused. Perfect conditions for Phase 2. The truth was shocking. Humanity hadn't destroyed those facilities. They had taken them whole. The hegemony's mining equipment now worked in human shipyards, building vessels at incredible speed. The Zephyrian trade station had become a forward base. The research facility helped Dr. Vasquez develop new weapons, and the people who worked there, they had been given a choice. Join humanity's coalition of exiled species, or live comfortable lives on prison worlds where they would be treated well. Most chose to join once they understood what humanity was really building. Captain Morrison. Now, Admiral Morrison led the first visible attack against the Vortanian Empire. His fleet appeared without warning above their capital world. At 300. Human ships surrounded the planet like a metal storm cloud. Tension. Vortanian High Command. Morrison broadcast on all frequencies. This is the human fleet. You have exactly 1 hour to surrender your military forces and withdraw from all former human territories. Refuse, and we would take them anyway. The Vortanian response was exactly what humans expected. Their home fleet moved to fight. 300 alien ships against 300 human ships. The odds looked even. The battle lasted 17 minutes. Human weapons, perfected during years of exile, cut through Vortanian shields like they were made of paper. Energy beams that had once been deadly to human ships bounced harmlessly off new armor plating. Human fighters moved faster than alien sensors could track, striking with perfect accuracy. When the fighting ended, the Vortanian fleet was gone. Not destroyed. Captured. Every ship, every crew member, every piece of technology was taken intact for study and improvement. General Rodriguez, now commanding all ground forces, led the occupation of the Vortanian capital. His troops included humans, Crathery warriors, and cybernetic soldiers from the Nexus Collective. Combination was unstoppable. Resistance is pointless, Rodriguez announced to the surrendering alien military. You will be treated better than you treated us. That's the difference between your people and ours. Reports flooded in from every corner of civilized space. Human fleets appeared without warning, struck with overwhelming force, and vanished before help could arrive. But they weren't destroying worlds or killing civilians. They were conquering, absorbing, growing stronger with each victory. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. It's the same chamber where humanity had been exiled, now buzzed with panic and fear. Representatives who had once voted confidently for human exile now demanded answers that no one could give. How did this happen? Shouted the Crystalline Syndicate representative. Our intelligence networks detected nothing. Our sensors showed no human activity. Commander Yithra, who had tried to warn them years earlier, stood to address the panicking council. Because we taught them to be silent. We taught them to hide. We taught them that the galaxy would only accept them if they weren't themselves. The irony was perfect and terrible. In trying to contain humanity's aggression, the Council had created something far worse. A humanity that had learned patience, strategy, and the value of allies who understood what it meant to be rejected. The ethereal collective representative floated forward, his gas body shimmering with fear. We must organize a defense, combine our fleets, fight them together. With what? Yathara asked coldly. Half our ships have already been captured or destroyed. The other half are scattered across the galaxy, trying to protect what's left of our territories. The truth was becoming clear to everyone in the chamber. Humanity had returned stronger than ever. K had allies that the galaxy had forgotten existed. They had technology that surpassed anything civilized space could produce. And they had a cause that united every exiled species in the galaxy. Admiral Hughes appeared on the Council's main screen. Behind her, The Bridge of the Vengeance showed humans working alongside dozens of alien species that the Council had cast out over the centuries. Members of the Galactic Council, Hughes said calmly, you voted to exile humanity from your civilized space. We honored that vote. We withdrew from your territories, stopped all trade, and respected your borders. Now we invite you to see what you created. The alien fleets that had been gathered to defend the Council found themselves facing something impossible. The human fleet wasn't attacking the station. It was demonstrating its power. Ships that moved faster than physics should allow. Weapons that could reshape matter itself. Shields that seemed to bend space and time. But more impressive than the technology was the unity. Humans fought alongside Crathry warriors. Cybernetic ships shared formation with organic vessels. The void-touched masters of dark energy provided cover for human fighters. This is what you created when you exiled us, Admiral Morrison announced to the watching galaxy. You wanted us gone because we were too aggressive, too dangerous, too different. So we found others like us. We found everyone you ever cast out, everyone you ever called unworthy of your perfect civilization. The demonstration continued for hours. Human technology that could solve the galaxy's energy crisis. Medical advances that could extend life for centuries. Faster than light travel that could cross the galaxy in days instead of years. All of it had been developed by the species the Council had rejected. All of it was now available to those who would accept a simple truth, that diversity made the galaxy stronger, not weaker. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as their perfect order crumbled around them. Humanity had returned, but not as conquerors. They had returned as something the galaxy had never seen before, liberators of the forgotten and builders of something better. The final confrontation came at the Galactic Council itself. Admiral Hughes led a fleet of over 1,000 ships to the neutral zone, where the Council chambers orbited a dying star. But this wasn't an attack. It was an invitation. The massive human fleet arrived without firing a single shot. Ships from dozens of exiled species flew in perfect formation. Crathry warships moved alongside human destroyers. Nexus collective cyber vessels shared space with void-touched dark energy cruisers. Kenshin, members of the Galactic Council. Admiral Hughes broadcast to the watching galaxy. You voted to exile humanity from your civilized space. We honored that vote, left your territories, and respected your borders. Now, we invite you to witness what you helped us become. The alien defense fleets that had rushed to protect the Council chambers found themselves facing something they had never imagined. The human fleet wasn't attacking. It was demonstrating. Ships that moved like liquid light. Weapons that could reshape asteroids into perfect spheres. Shields that made space itself bend around them. Admiral Morrison commanded the forward ships. His voice reached every corner of the galaxy through the communication networks. This is what you created when you exiled us, called us too aggressive, too dangerous, too different. So we found others like us. We found everyone you ever rejected. The demonstration was breathtaking. Human ships performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. They moved through space like dancers, each movement perfectly coordinated, with hundreds of other vessels. The technology was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, but the real message wasn't about power. It was about unity. Captain Rodriguez, now commanding the integrated military forces, stood on the bridge of his ship, surrounded by officers from a dozen different species. Humans worked beside Crathry warriors. Nexus collective androids shared data with organic minds. Former enemies had become family. Looked at them, Rodriguez said to his communications officer, Lieutenant Barnes. They're seeing something they never thought possible. Different species actually working together instead of just tolerating each other. On the Council station, panic filled the emergency meeting chamber. The same aliens who had voted to exile humanity now watched their perfect order crumble. Vortanian representative's 4 eyes blinked rapidly as he studied the tactical displays. "They have more ships than our entire combined fleet," he whispered. "And the technology. How did they advance so far in just a few years?" Commander Yathora of the Crystalline Syndicate stood slowly. She had warned them this would happen, but no one had listened. They advanced because we forced them to. When you corner humans, they don't break, they evolve. Admiral Hughes appeared on the Council's main screen. Behind her, the Bridge of the Vengeance showed the impossible. Dozens of different species working together in perfect harmony. Species that had been enemies for centuries now shared the same goals. "We didn't come here for revenge," Hughes announced to the stunned council members. "We came to offer you something better than what you had before." Dr. Vasquez, now humanity's chief diplomat, stepped forward. Her hair had gone gray during the years of exile, but her eyes were bright with possibility. "We have solved the energy crisis that has plagued the galaxy for 1,000 years. We have medical technology that can extend life by centuries. We have faster-than-light travel that can cross the galaxy in days." The offers were real and incredible. Technology that could transform civilization, medical advances that could end suffering, energy sources that could power 1,000,000 worlds. "What do you want in return?" asked the Ethereal Collective representative, his gas body swirling with nervous energy. "Simple," Hughes replied. "Stop judging species by whether they fit your idea of civilization. Stop exiling races because they're different. Accept that diversity makes us all stronger." The conditions were clear and fair. No more caste system ranking species by how civilized they seemed. No more exile for being too aggressive or too different. No more forcing every race to become the same. One by one, species began to accept. The Aquatic Dominion was first, their representative swimming forward in her water-filled suit. "We accept your terms. We have seen what unity can accomplish." The smaller races followed quickly. Species that had always felt overlooked by the Council saw a chance to be equals instead of subjects. The Crystalline Syndicate, recognizing the superiority of human technology, eagerly joined the new alliance. The Vortanian Empire and Ethereal Collective held out longest. Their pride made it hard to admit they had been wrong. But reality was stronger than pride. Humanity and their allies now controlled most of the galaxy's resources and trade routes. Resistance meant slow death. The final vote was different from the first one. This time, it was unanimous. The old Galactic Council would dissolve. In its place would rise the Coalition of Free Species, with humanity as the first among equals. Colonel Murphy, now commanding the Coalition's security forces, stood in the same chamber where humanity had been exiled 5 years ago. "Things change fast," he said to Director Santos. Santos smiled, watching human and alien delegates work together to write the new government's charter. "Not change, Ben. Growth. They tried to stop us from expanding, but they only taught us to expand better." Admiral Hughes, now the Coalition's first chancellor, addressed the assembled representatives. The chamber that had once echoed with votes for human exile now filled with cheers for human leadership. "The galaxy voted to exile Earth because they feared what we might become," she said. "Today, we showed them what we became. Not conquerors or destroyers, but builders of something greater than any single species could achieve alone." The old order was dead. In its place stood something unprecedented in galactic history. A civilization that celebrated differences instead of demanding conformity. A government that valued strength in all its forms. A society that understood that sometimes the greatest threat to the status quo was not destruction, but evolution. Humanity had been exiled for being too dangerous, too aggressive, too different. In response, they had become something the galaxy had never seen before. a force that turned every weakness into strength, every enemy into an ally, and every exile into a foundation for something better. The galaxy had voted to exile Earth. In doing so, they had taught humanity the most valuable lesson of all. Sometimes the greatest victory comes not from proving you belong, but from creating a place where everyone belongs. And that was exactly what humanity had done.